Today we will finish remaining incarnation of Lord Krishna and also some of the remaining items in chapter 3 of Shrimad Bhagwatam. So next week we can start chapter 4 of Canto 1. So I will begin with Mangalacharan prayers. If you all know Mangalacharan prayers, you can also recite along with me. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksuramilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padana Sagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Ya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratu Se Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nastaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna everybody and welcome to our Shrimad Bhagwatam class this evening. We are continuing with our chapter 3 presentation. So in the beginning, we learn about the creation of this material world through 3 Vishnu form. Mahavishnu, also known as Karanodakshaya Vishnu. Second Vishnu is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Third Vishnu is Kirodakshaya Vishnu. Then we discussed about some of the incarnations of Lord Krishna. First incarnation being Chatus Kumar, 4 Kumaras. They are Sanat, Sanatan, Sanat Kumar, Sanandan. And second avatar is Varaha boar incarnation, who rescued the earth from the Garbhodak ocean. Third avatar is Narad Muni incarnation. Fourth is Nar Narayan incarnation. Fifth is Kapil Dev, Kapil Bhagwan. giving instructions to his mother Devhuti. Then Dattatreya, who is the combined form of Brahma, Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. And Yagnadev is the seventh incarnation. Eighth incarnation came King Rushabdev, and Maharaj Pruthu as a ninth incarnation. Those are all Saktiavesh avatar. They are empowered by the Lord to do certain function. Then there is a Matsya avatar. Then Matsya avatar, it was like a Matsya avatar purpose was to save the Vedas and also to protect his devotee Satyavrat. Then there is a Kurma avatar. 11th incarnation is Kurma avatar. Then 12 and 13 is Dhanvantari and Mohini avatar. 14th incarnation is Lord Nrsingadev. Very popular in ISKCON. We sing his glories every day. So we will come to that point. We will recite these stotras of 10 major incarnations written by Jayadev Goswami. Then there is a Vaman avatar, which is 15th incarnation. Lord came as a Brahmin boy, and he asked 3 steps of land from Bali Maharaj to help the devotees, demigods. And then this Bhrugupati means the Parsuram avatar is 16 incarnation. 17 we have learned about Vyasdev is also literary incarnation of Lord Krishna. Then Lord Ram himself is 18, and 19 and 20 is Balram and Krishna appeared, right? So we should up to this point. Now today we will discuss from this 21st incarnation, which is Lord Buddha. Okay, he appeared in the beginning of this Kali Yuga. So after the Kali Yuga passed, like 2400 years or so, the Shrimad Bhagwatam is returned end of the Dwapar, beginning of the Kali. But this Kali Yuga, this Buddha avatar happened after Vyasadeva wrote Shrimad Bhagwatam. So you can see the authenticity of Shrimad Bhagwatam. They predicted that thing. Not only this, the next avatar also, the Kalki avatar. So this Buddha avatar, in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of faithless theists. So you can see Lord Buddha is an empowered incarnation of the Lord, and you may have seen his murti. He always sits in the meditation form. See that he is in a certain posture and always meditating on. Now, the reason for his coming is Lord Buddha appears in the beginning of Kali Yuga as the son of Anjana, as it is stated in the slide there, in the province of Gaya. At the time when he appeared, the people in general were atheistic, means they were not believing in God, and preferred animal flesh, means they were eating meat. So on the plea of Vedic sacrifice, every place was practically turned into a slaughterhouse, because people were taking or interpreting the Vedic knowledge wrong way, and they were eating, killing animal, so many slaughterhouses, and they were eating meat. So Lord Buddha preached non-violence. So his purpose was to stop killing animals. So for that purpose, he even rejected animal sacrifices sanctioned in the Vedas. So in his early life, he was known as Siddhartha Gautam. He was a noble prince, and in his youth, he was sheltered from the miseries of life. when the prince traveled out of his kingdom for the first time and saw dying person, he saw a person giving birth, he saw a diseased person, he saw an aged person. So he asked, this is first time he saw, because he was king's son, was raised in the palace, never seen this kind of miseries and seen that he has seen that time. So he asked his servant if such hardship or suffering was common. His servant responded by telling him that these troubles comes in the duration of the human life, you know. So Buddha was very deeply affected by that thing. He realized that in light of inescapable miseries of material existence, no one could be truly happy. So ultimately, he came to realize the state of nirvana. Okay? So, or that existence beyond the cycle of repeated birth and death. So this is regarding some notes on Lord Buddha. Okay. So then we will take the next one is Kalki Avatar, which is yet to happen. You know, it didn't happen yet. This will happen at the end of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga's life is 4 lakhs or like 4 lakhs 32,000 years. Okay, so from that we only pass 5,000 years. So he says Kalki, thereafter at the conjunction of two yugas, the Lord of the creation will take his birth as the Kalki incarnation and become the son of Vishnu Yasa. At this time, almost all the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers. So there is little notes on this Kalki avatar, which is going to happen at the end of this Kali Yuga, and then the Satya Yuga will start. Again, the new cycle will start. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. So, what Kalki will do? Kalki appears to rid the earth of sinful population of Kali Yuga and the sinful men that have dressed as kings. So by the end of Kali Yuga, there will be so many pretended kings, like they were not real kings, and they were misbehaving. So they will become like a demon. So this avatar will kill them. You can see that he is driving, he's on a horse there. His horse name is Devadatta. You know, he rides very fast horse. It is called Devadatta, and carries a sword. You can see sword in his hand, which he uses to kill the thieves and these the kings. They are, all these people who are bad, but they are dressed as a king. So when the age of Kali has almost ended, the Supreme Personality of Godhead will incarnate. Lord Kalki will appear in a home of most eminent Brahman of Sambal village. See, all details are given. So this is the Shastra, this is the authenticity, this is the proof, that this is a bona fide scripture. That even the name of the village where he appears is given, the name of the father, which is Vishnu Yasa, that is also given in the Shastra. So as the age of Kali progresses, all good qualities of man diminish and all impure qualities increase. So atheistic system, atheistic means non-believer, they don't believe in God. The so-called religion become this strongest replacing codes of Vedic law. Right? So the kings become just like, pretenders. The people in general become dedicated to low occupation and all social classes, which is like Varnashram system. That become like everyone becomes Shudra. So Kalki takes birth to protect the principles of religion. and to relieve his saintly devotees from the reactions of material work. You know. So the thing he will do, he will mount his horse Devdatta, as it is shown in the slide here, and ride around earth with great speed, taking his sword in hand, displaying his unequal effulgence, and will kill by the millions those thieves and have dared dress as a king. Then the signs of the next Satyuga will begin to appear. And when the moon, sun, and the planet Brihaspati enter simultaneously into one constellation and conjoin in the lunar mentioned Pushya, Satyuga. This is the sign of Satyuga. When moon, sun, and Brihaspati enter simultaneously in one constellation. So that is like a astronomical chart. You know, according to the astronomy, this would be the arrangement of this particular planet. And during that time, that is the junction, Kali Yuga will end and Satya Yuga will begin. So this is regarding Kali Yuga is defined here. Actually, there are very bad signs of Kali Yuga described in the Bhagavatam also, you know, where it says that when the age of Kali has almost ended, the Supreme Personality of Godhead will incarnate. Sambal, I mentioned it already, and then the real people in Kali Yuga at the end of this age will suffer a lot, and they will, like I mentioned, you know, all cows become like goat, all spiritual hermitage become like materialistic home, and family ties extend no other than immediate relationship of marriage, like that. So it will be very bad situation toward the end of the Kali Yuga. So with that note, I will now little bit mention about Krishna is being the source of all incarnations. We have learned about these 22 incarnations, but at the end we asked right, Ete Chakalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the only Bhagavan. Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vrujati. He says that all the above mentioned incarnations which we discussed, they are either plenary portion or portion of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheist. So the Lord incarnates to protect the theist. So we have seen each and every incarnation, there is some purpose to, there is some mission to do, you know, and that is why they come, and Lord gives them power to do that activity when they incarnate, you know. So these are some of the things about that. And then there will be a Falasruti. Falasruti means what is the advantage of reading and hearing and reciting these incarnations. So that is also given in Bhagavatam, where it says, whoever carefully recites mysterious appearance of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all miseries of life. So if you want to get rid of miseries of life, you should read about these incarnations in the morning and in the evening. So this is the advice given to us in the Shrimad Bhagwatam about this. So then we will take this major 10 Das Avtaras, which you can see here. Das Avatar. 10 prominent incarnation of Lord Krishna, okay, which are Matsya Avatar, means fish incarnation, Kurma Avatar, tortoise of Sukar Avatar, that is boar, then Nrusingh Avatar, Vaman Avatar, Bhrugupati is Parsuram, then Ram, then Balaram, then Buddha, and Kalki. These are the 10 main avatars, which you can see in this slide also. So what we are going to do now is Jayadev Goswami is a poet who has written this Gita Govinda, and in which, in a form of a Mangalacharan, he has written a stotra or a slok for each major 10 incarnations. So for which we will recite, okay, I will recite the verse, you can hear it, and then also I will recite each verse in simple English also, so you can understand it very well. Okay, so I will begin with Matsya Avatar, fish incarnation. Pralaya payodhi jale dhrutavanasi vedam vihita vahitra charitam akhedam keshavadruta Meena Sarira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Now I will recite this in simple English form. Okay, so this fish avatar written in English poetry reads like this. Who is that swimming in the water with a long horn pulling a little boat? Who is that swimming in the water? Who came to dip the Vedas afloat? Who came to keep the Vedas afloat? Matsya, Hari 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 Bol. So that's a fish incarnation. Now next we're gonna recite about the Kurma avatar. Okay, so Jayadev Goswami writes, Ksitira iha vipulatare tisthati tava prusthe dharani dharana kinna chakra garisthe kesavadruta kurama sarira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Okay, the same sloka in English. Who is that lying in the ocean of milk with Mandar mountain churning on his back? Who is that lying in the ocean of milk who has hard shell for his back? Who has hard shell for his back? Kurma, tortoise, Hari Hari, Kesavadruta, Kurma Sarira, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Then there is a third incarnation of Sukar, boar. Vasati Dasana Sikhare, Dharani Tavalagna, Sasini Kalanka Kaleva Nimagna, Keshavadrita Sukara Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So it is said here in English, who is that fighting Hiranyaksha with a long snout and two sharp curled tusks? Who is that fighting Hiranyaksha who lifted the earth from the Garbhodak? Who lifted the earth from the Garbhodak? Varah, Hari 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 Bol, Keshavadruta Sukara Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Then Nrusing. Tava kara kamalavare nakham adbhuta sringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanu bhrungam keshavadruta narahari rupa jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare. Who is that fighting Hiranyakashipu with wonderful claws and a very loud roar? Who is that fighting Hiranyakashipu who came to save Prahlad Maharaj? Who came to save Prahlad Maharaj? Narsimhadev, Hari Hari Bol, Kesavadruta Narari Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Then Vaman, Chalayasi Vikramane Balim Adbhuta Vama, Padanaka Nirajanita Jana Pavan, Keshavadruta Vamana Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Who took big steps? 1, 2, 3. We had a water pot and a japa beads. Who took big steps? 1, 2, 3. Over earth and the universe, then Bali. Over earth and the universe, then Bali. So Vamande, Hari Hari Bol, Kesavadhuta, Vamana Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Then Bhragupati, Parsuram. Kshatriya Rudhira Maye Jagad Apagata Papam Snapayasi Payasi Samita Bhavatapam Kesavadruta Bhrugupati Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Who is that holding a powerful axe with Kshatriya arms and a Brahman thread? Who is that holding a powerful axe who came to teach the Kshatriyas respect? Who came to teach the Kshatriyas respect? Parsuram, Hari Hari Bol, Kesavadruta, Bhrugupati Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Then we come to Ram avatar, in which Jayadev Goswami says, Vitarasi Diksurane Dikapati Kamana Iyam Dasamukha Mauli Bali Maramaniyam Kesavadruta Rama Sarira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So, who is that holding a golden bow with lotus eyes and greenish skin? Who is that holding a golden bow with Sita, Lakshmana, and Hanuman? With Sita, Lakshmana, and Hanuman. Ram, Hari 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 Bol, Keshava Dhruta, Rama Sarira, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Now Balaram. Vaha Siva Pusi Visade Vasanam Jaladabham Halahati Biti Milita Yamunabham Kesavadrita Haladara Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Who is that holding a mighty plow with whitish skin and reddish eyes? Who is that holding a mighty plow? Who plays with Krishna all the time? Who plays with Krishna all the time? Balram, Hari 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 Bol, Kesava Dhruta, Haladhara Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Haladhar is plow, which he always carries with him. And now we discuss today's incarnation, Buddha Sarira. Nindasi yagna videraha sruti jatam sadayara darshita pasugatam kesavadruta buddha sarira jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha Shahare. So, who came to teach compassion, meditating under a Bodhi tree, who came to teach compassion to every living entity, Buddha, Hari Hari Bol, Kesavadruta, Buddha Sarira, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Then the last avatar is Kalki avatar. Okay. Mlechani vahani dane kalayasi karavalam Dhumaketum eva kim api karalam Keshavadruta kalaki sarira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Who is that holding a shining sword, riding high upon a horse? Who is that holding a shining sword, who comes at the end of Kali Yuga? Who comes at the end of Kali Yuga? Kalki avatar, Hari Hari Bol, Keshavadruta, Kalki Sharira, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So, in this way, these are the 10 major or prominent incarnations: Matsya, Kurma, Vara, Nrusi, Vaman, Parsuram, Ram, Balram, Buddha, and Kalki, and Krishna's 10 avatars like that. This is the Jaidev Goswami. So we will now do a little story about Jaidev Goswami. As you can see here, Jaidev Goswami, he wrote Gita Govinda. The book is given here. See Jaidev Goswami. So we will talk about little bit about Jaidev Goswami. He is a very eminent poet who has written this book, and his Mangalacharan of this book, he has written this Dasavatar Stotra. So there is a very fascinating story, many stories, but I will just mention one or two here, depending on our time frame. Okay, so Jaidev lived for a long time in Navadvip, which is in Bengal, during the reign of King of Bengal. The name of the King of Bengal was Lakshman Sen. So he was making home there, which is not far from the king's palace. So at that time, the king chief, his name was Govardhan Acharya. So according to Asutosh Bengali dictionary, Jaidev was Lakshman Sen's court poet. And how he became court poet, like normally king used to keep a poet in their kingdom, in their court. So that way, because king, they were very fond of his hearing music and poetry. So it is mentioned that he was a court poet in the court of Lakshman, King Lakshman during that time. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also writes in the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya that Lakshman Sen was delighted when he heard Jayadev's hymn to the 10 incarnations, the Dasavatar Stotra, which we just sang. So when Govardhan Acharya notified the king that it was Jayadev who had composed the hymn, he became desirous to meet the poet. He went incognito to Jayadev house. Means he went there changing his dress so that Jayadev will not recognize him as a king, And when he saw him, he noticed that Jayadev possessed all the characteristics of a great and powerful spiritual personality. So he was deeply impressed. This king was deeply, and the king revealed his identity. So he went as a disguise, but then he told that, his real swarup to him and invited him to come and live in the royal palace. So Jayadev was leading very renounced life and was therefore unwilling to live in the opulent environment of the palace. So he told the king that he preferred to live in Jagannath Puri. So Lakshman Sen was disappointed by Jayadev's intention. He quickly suggested that he take up residence in the village of Champahati, saying that it was a place suitable for a person who wished to lead a meditative life. He also promised him that he would never come to disturb him again. So when Jayadev agreed, Lakshman Sen had a cottage built for him in the village that was formerly known as Champak Hut, named after the beautiful garden of champa trees and the village market where Mahaprabhu's associate Dvij Vaninath received vision of him in the Satya Yuga, seeing him in the form of Brahmin, whose skin was the color of champa flower. Similarly, Jayadev had a vision here, first of Radha Madhav, then of their combined form as the golden champa colored as a Gaurang Mahaprabhu. So after the Lord gave Jayadev this vision, he told him to go to Jagannath Puri. So here Jagannath Puri is advising him to go to Jagannath Puri. Although Jayadev was sad to leave the future abode of his Lord, he obeyed the Lord's command and made his way to Puri, Jagannath Puri, where it is said that he was engaged as the kings of Orissa's court poet in Jagannath Puri. He spent the remainder of his life in the abode of Lord Jagannath, where he wrote the transcendental poem based on the sentiment of love in separation, known as Git Govinda or Astapadi. Indeed, Mahaprabhu told Jayadev while giving him the vision of Navadvip that after appearing there, he would take sannyas and go to Jagannath Puri, where he would relish the Git Govinda. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also very fond of hearing Git Govinda. And Jagannath Puri, in Jagannath Puri, Jagannath himself, Lord himself, was very inquisitive, and he was very eager to hear this stotra from Jayadev Goswami's mouth, and whoever sings that thing. So there is a lot of other stories also connected with it. We will take it sometime. So further information about the life of Jayadeva is found in the preface to the Calcutta. There is one book which is called Calcutta Basumari Sahitya Mandir. So it is edition of Git Govinda. So sometime prior to the Muslim conquest of Delhi, King Manikya Chandra ordered the writing of the book Alankar Shekhar, in which Jayadev is mentioned as the court poet of the king of Orissa. Sridhar Das, the son, one of the chief courtiers of Lakshman Sen, included many of Jayadeva's verses in his book. So you can see now there is one instance about Jayadev Goswami's very interesting. With that, I will finish this thing. Jayadeva's marriage to Padmavati. Now you will be surprised to know that who arranged Jayadeva's marriage? Lord Jagannath himself of Jagannath Puri. So there is a little story which I will go through and then we will end the class. You can have a question answer session. So according to the legend, Jagannath himself ordered Jayadev to marry Padmavati. The story is told in the Vishwakos as follows. They say that there once was a Brahmin who was without offspring, despite having worshipped Jagannath for many years in the hope of having a son. Finally, he and his wife had a daughter, and they named her Padmavati. When she came of marriageable age, the Brahmin brought her to Lord Jagannath to offer her to his lotus feet. When he saw them, Jagannath said to the Brahmin, I have a servant whose name is Jayadev. He has given up family life and has dedicated himself to chanting my name. Give your daughter to him in marriage. So this Brahmin took his daughter to Jayadev and asked him to marry his daughter. However, since Jayadev had no desire to get married, he refused to agree to any such arrangement. So the Brahmin then told him that it was Jagannath himself who had arranged this marriage, and without another word, he just left from that point. He left his daughter with Jayadev Goswami and he left because it was told by Lord Jagannath himself. Jayadev found himself totally unprepared for this situation because he don't intend to marry, and told the girl, tell me where you want to go and I will take you and leave you there. You cannot stay here. He told Padmavati like that. So Padmavati started to cry and said, my father brought me here to marry you on Jagannath Deva's order. You are my husband, my all in all. If you do not accept me, then I will fall down at your feet and die right here. You are my only hope, my Lord. The poet and scholar Jayadev could not abandon her after such heartfelt plea. So he became a householder. Jai. Jayadev Goswami ki Jai. All right. So we will end our class here and take some questions and comments from you all. Thank you for listening. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for wonderful class. So I request to all of the kids, please raise your hand if you have any questions. So we will take one by one. First is Nishita. Nishita, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prabhuji, my question is like, it's not from today, like from today's class, but it's from yesterday's class. So yesterday we talked about like Krishna's birth thing, how Krishna was born. So my question was like in that part, when Vasudev, I think Vasudev is Krishna's dad. So when Vasudev like got Krishna, like took Krishna to Yashoda, and got Balarama here. When Kamsa came and took Balaram, how did Balaram turn into like Saraswati or Durga?
It was not the Balaram, it was the Yog Maya, baby girl. Yasoda Mata has given birth to a baby girl who is Yogamaya, and that was also Krishna's arrangement. Krishna told in the earlier, when Krishna told Yogamaya is his Shakti, his energy. So when, during the 7th pregnancy of Devaki, Krishna told Yogamaya that you go and take the child in the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. And at the same time, he told her that now I will take my place as an 8th child in the womb of Devaki, and you take a birth in Gokul from Yasoda Mata, so that way this exchange can happen. So when Vasudev took Krishna over there, the Vasudev Krishna over there, he brought back this baby girl and she turned into that Durga form.
Okay, so like the next question, like it came from this one. So if you just said the Yoga Maya, she was the girl baby that was born from Yashoda, then how did Balaram come? How is Balaram his brother, Krishna's brother?
Balaram was in Rohini's womb. Rohini is another wife of Vasudev, who was living with Nanda Maharaj house.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. The next one is Jhalak. Jhalak, please unmute yourself.
Yes, so I have two questions. One about Janmashtami's thing. So about the exchanging of Balaram from Devaki's womb to Rohini's womb, why can't they just be born in the same time as twins?
You mean the Balram and Krishna? No. Balram was supposed to be Rohini's son, so that's why he was transferred from Devaki's womb to Rohini's womb. So Balram took a birth from Rohini.
Okay, and one more about this.
Okay.
Classes avatar. So about Kalki, wait, all those kings that we were talking about Kali Yuga's end, are they real kings?
In Kali Yuga, they were all sort of pretenders. They were not real kings. That is why Kalki Avatar has to come and kill them.
Yeah, but did they rule the world?
Yeah, in other words, yet time to come yet, there will be so many, basically the rulers of the country, So yeah.
So they are fake kings, but they will rule the world.
Well, they will pretend to rule the world like that, They will be like a false, they will be in a dress of a king, but they will not act like a king.
They will not act like a king, but they will.
Yeah, they will dress like a king, but they will not do the proper duty as a king, As we see that, like Yudhishthir Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, all these, they will not be the king like those.
I know, but there's one more questions about this.
Okay.
Can some people just hide and get evidence that they're not kings by seeing their house? That it is not that rich, like a palace or something?
Well, these people, the description gives in the Shrimad Bhagwatam is that they are simply actually dacoits and thieves, but they are in a dress of a king.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All my answers are done. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. The next one is Shlok. Shlok, please unmute yourself.
Does this cycle of Kali Yuga come like more than one time? So is this like the second time Kali Yuga came?
Second time, Kali Yuga may have come many times. We don't know. We are in this Kali Yuga, but this cycle is rotating. The Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga. Actually, this is a 28 Chaturyugi cycle that we are in right now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Leave now?
Prabhuji, the next one is Ramachandra. Ramachandra.
Mataji, Kalki's, when Kalki's got killed, the bad people, he gets born from Vishnu Yasa. Who is Vishnu Yasa?
He was a name of the Brahmana, and the Kalki will become his son at the end of Kali Yuga.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
It is just forecasted like that. There is nobody like that. But in Bhagavatam, it is special. Even the Buddha avatar is also foretold, right? Because the Bhagavatam was written at the end of Dwapar Yuga, which means beginning of the Kali Yuga. And the Buddha avatar and Kalki avatar going happen after that. Like Buddha avatar, you can say about 2600 years ago from now. So that means after the Kali Yuga started, about 2400 passed. After that, Buddha Yuga came. And at the end of Kali Yuga, Kalki will come. So the both of them yet to happen when Vyasadeva wrote the Bhagavatam. But it is forecasted by Vyasadeva and it is happening that way.
Okay. Should I take another one, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
The next one is Nihal. Nihal, please unmute yourself.
So how?
Nihal, your voice is not. Nihal, are you there? Please unmute yourself.
So how much avatars did we learn today?
Today we learn only two, Buddha and Kalki.
Okay.
Right. Before that we learned 20. So total 22 in this chapter that is described in the Shrimad Bhagwatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3. But in fact, there are so many incarnations of Lord Krishna. Okay.
So, Prabhuji, we don't have any more questions. If anybody have any questions, please raise your hand or we have to wind up our call.
So everybody will remember who wrote the Savtar Stotra, right? We did the Jayadev Goswami's Stotra there. And who will appear at the end of Kali? What did Lord Buddha, why Lord Buddha came, right?
So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. Thank you once again. So we have to wind up our call. Vancha kaltarurasya kapa sindhu bhaiva cha patitanam pavnebhyo Vishnu.
Hare Krishna to everyone. Have a nice weekend. Good luck for your Kahoot game. and we'll see you next week.